invite you to just close your eyes, relax, rest in the presence, and hold space.
Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Amari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Amari. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Om Ekadantaya Vidmahi Vakrajandaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat. Ganganapataye namo namaha. 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 Ganganapataye, Ganganapataye namo namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Amari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Amari. Ganganapataye namo namaha. 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 Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Suklambaradharam Vishnu Sasivarnam Chaturvajam Prasannavadaram Dhyaye Sarvavignyopashantaye. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye
Namaste. Welcome to our weekly online global satsang. Satsang being a Sanskrit word that means community of truth. Wherever there are people on the path of awakening, the flowering of the heart and oneness with the divine, come together to share their journey, their ups and downs, to meditate together, to pray together, to encourage one another, we have a satsang. Could just call it a spiritual community, I suppose. Our spiritual community, the Flowering Heart, draws people from all over the world, from different teachers, different teachings, different spiritual backgrounds. What we have in common is that we're all on the path of awakening into oneness with the divine and with all that is. So, welcome tonight. We share throughout these live stream broadcasts something we call the Flowering Heart Blessing. Vikasa.
Hridaya, Vikasa, Diksha.
Wow, she got it. I suddenly lost my Sanskrit. Hridaya, Vikasa, Diksha, which is a fancy Sanskrit way of saying Flowering Heart Blessing. So, anyway.
We still have hurricane brain.
That's the first time I've reached for that and haven't found it, you know. Hridaya, Vikasa, Diksha. Hridaya is not just the heart chakra, which is anahata. Hridaya is the spiritual heart, the center, the spiritual center of your being. And that's where the Atma abides, which is the divine source, the divine center. And so Vikasa just means flowering. And Diksha just means blessing. So Flowering Heart Blessing.
You made that way more complicated.
Well, I know. That's because I stumbled, so I wanted everyone to stumble with me. So, anyway, it's a direct transmission of divine awareness, awakened awareness, love and grace and consciousness with a purpose of catalyzing awakening and transformation in the receiver. And the divine showed us that, first of all, that we should give it away and not charge for it. Secondly, that when people receive just one of these blessings, they're initiated immediately to be able to pass it on to others. So join us, please, in holding the intention and inviting the divine to pour these awakening, transforming energies of the Flowering Heart Blessing through you to everyone who joins us tonight and the many, many more people that join us over the next week who watch it in their own time zone or at their own convenience. We have hundreds of people actually who watch it between when we sign off tonight and when we sign on next Monday, which is great. I mean, whenever you can tune in, because this is spirit, the Flowering Heart Blessing, and spirit is unbounded by time or space. It's everywhere, instantly, all the time. So you could watch this video a year from now and you'd feel the same presence that we're sharing here tonight. We're living at a time when it's essential that as many people awaken into oneness within themselves, with the divine, with each other, with nature and the universe as quickly as possible. Humanity has just stretched the envelope for too long. We've created a global civilization that's taken many forms throughout our known history, but all of it was rooted in competition, conflict, and war. And it's time to build a new civilization rooted in cooperation, harmony, and peace. And that can only happen when the heart flowers. We've observed, if you're a student of history, you may have noticed that politics have never brought a solution to the human condition. Neither have philosophies nor religions. I mean, all these things are well intended in their own way, efforts to help humanity change this destructive pattern that we've created. But philosophy, religion, and politics have never succeeded. What will succeed is when the collective consciousness of humanity tips from separation and duality into oneness and love. That happens one person at a time right now, and more people are awakening quicker than any other time in history we're aware of. And we feel not just us, but many seers and masters and mystics feel and see that when enough of us awaken, then the collective consciousness is going to shift into love, cooperation, harmony, and peace. Some people think it's a very small number, 0.001%, which would be 1 in 100,000. And you know why 1 in 100,000 awakened people could shift the world? Well, I mean, Buddha was just one. He shifted the world. Christ was one. He shifted the world. Mahatma Gandhi was one. He shifted the world. Imagine millions of us awakening together and beaming oneness and love throughout the earth. So awakened consciousness is far more powerful and far more contagious than negative consciousness. That's why 1 in 100,000 is going to ripple out and take the other 100,000 across the threshold into transformation.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, eventually. So while we're busy at work doing that, we invite you to share questions, comments. Insights are great. What really stimulates conversation in the satsangs is questions that you might have where you'd like more light, more clarity about something you've encountered in your own spiritual practice or something you've been puzzling over in the spiritual journey. And all of us have different paths, and yet they're all somewhat parallel. We all go through similar ups and downs and challenges along the way. So whatever you're dealing with, if you throw it out there, not only will the divine give us light and insight to share with everyone, it's going to help everybody because we all go through such similar issues and challenges on the path. So while you're asking that still small voice inside, what might I ask tonight that would stimulate conversation in the satsang? I'm going to read 21 quotes. That's a long one, so you got time to think. Come on now, it's your part. All right, Ekaterina, we'll come back to that. I know she's not the only one. Okay. Help with a question or two. So I take these little articles and quotes from a website called inspiringquotes.com. A group of authors write timely little brief articles about relevant subjects and then present lists of quotes from influential, illuminated people from throughout history. So we've really been enjoying this, at least I have. Hope everyone else has. Tonight the author is Tony Donnell, and Tony is an English writer of nonfiction and fiction living on the edge of the Amazon jungle. And I just always have a special feeling about Tony because I like his articles, but also because of where he's living. And Suzanne and I both just love South America and have been to the Amazon. And so here's what Tony has to say about trusting your intuition. When you have a gut feeling, that's your intuition kicking in. It's a hard process to describe, but it's basically the ability to understand or know something, often immediately, based on your feelings rather than facts. Intuition is similar to instinct, but not the same. Both come without conscious reasoning, but instinct is an automatic response that pushes you into an action that typically promotes survival, such as fight or flight. Whereas intuition is a feeling of knowing, a judgment, insight, or decision that just feels right. Learning to trust these hunches has helped people from all walks of life to succeed, whether by making new discoveries, creating great art, building a successful business. Here's some quotes about the value of intuition from philosophers, artists, business leaders, scientists, and more. Here we go. Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. Cleverness is mere opinion. Bewilderment, intuition. Rumi. Just love Rumi. Great, great Sufi mystic and scholar, poet. The highest endeavor of the mind and the highest virtue is to understand things by the intuitive kind of knowledge. Baruch Spinoza. Logic, which alone can give certainty, is the instrument of demonstration. Intuition is the instrument of invention. Henry Poincaré. All human knowledge begins with intuitions, proceeds from thence to concepts, and ends with ideas. Immanuel Kant. Intuition comes very close to clairvoyance. It appears to be the extrasensory perception of reality. Alexis Carrel. The activity of the intuition consists in making spontaneous judgments which are not the result of conscious trains of reasoning. These judgments are often, but by no means, invariably correct. Often, but not invariably. Alan Turing. All great achievements of science must start from intuitive knowledge. I believe in intuition and inspiration. At times I feel certain I am right, while not knowing the reason. Albert Einstein. Women observe subconsciously 1,000 little details without knowing that they're doing so. Their subconscious mind adds these little things together, and they call the result intuition. Agatha Christie. A hunch is creativity trying to tell you something. Frank Capra. You must train your intuition. You must trust the small voice inside you which tells you exactly what to say, what to decide. Ingrid Bergman. Intuition is the key to everything. In painting, filmmaking, business, everything. I think you could have an intellectual ability, but if you can sharpen your intuition, which they say is emotion and intellect joining together, then a knowingness occurs. David Lynch. Intuition is a very powerful thing, more powerful than intellect. Steve Jobs. Intuition is really a sudden immersion of the soul into the universal current of life. Paulo Coelho. For the most important decisions in your life, trust your intuition and then work with everything you have to prove it right. Tim Cook. You have to leave the city of your comfort and go into the wilderness of your intuition. What you'll discover will be wonderful. What you'll discover will be yourself. Alan Alda. Intuition is the wisdom formed by feeling and instinct, a gift of knowing without reasoning. Angela Arendt. I've trusted the still, small voice of intuition my entire life. And the only time I've made mistakes is when I didn't listen. Oprah Winfrey.
I don't know how many times I've said that. None of those words.
Well, you're in good company.
Yeah, I am.
I feel there are two people inside me and my intuition. If I go against her, she'll screw me every time. And if I follow her, we get along quite nicely. Kim Bassinger. The more you trust your intuition, the more empowered you become, the stronger you become, and the happier you become. Giselle Bundchen. When you have the intuition that there's something which is there, but out of the reach of your physical world, art and religion are the only means to get to it. Guillermo del Toro. Practice listening to your intuition, your inner voice. Ask questions. Be curious. See what you see, hear what you hear, and then act upon what you know to be true. These intuitive powers were given to your soul at birth. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
We've all got it, but we don't all trust it. We don't all listen. I love that quote. If I don't listen to her, if I resist her, she screws me every time. Wow. Yep, listen to your intuition. Well, okay. Ekaterina writes, can you talk about what happens when we die? Do we go to heaven and wait to come back? Our dead loved ones are watching us celebrating them. During these Halloween days, are our dead loved ones watching us celebrating them during these Halloween days? Because there's the Day of the Dead and All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. Okay, what happens when we die? You drop your body? The rest is kind of fluid. I'm not sure the same thing happens to everyone, although in general, what is suggested, different traditions feel differently about the subject of reincarnation. Buddhists believe in it, Hindus believe in it, Taoists believe in it, almost everybody except Orthodox Christianity. But in the early church, there was a belief shared by some of the early fathers and spiritual mothers of the church. They had a different name for it. It was called the transmigration of souls. And it was believed that when a soul transitions, it migrates to another body. This was held by some influential teachers, bishops in the early church. The church eventually condemned it and said, no, that's not true. But Jesus' brother, or kindred, St. James, who wrote the Epistle of St. James, talked about the power of the tongue. And that among all of the powers and the tools that have been given to humanity, we've been able to tame everything except our own tongues. And he said it is the tongue that is setting everything on fire, including the wheel of birth. And he put in there in the Greek, it's right there in the Epistle of James, I promise you, it says probably in your translation it sets on fire the course of nature. What it says in the Greek is the wheel of birth, and that was a specific term in that time to refer to the wheel of rebirth, the endless cycle of birth and death. So, that was just an introduction, to segue into this. What happens when you die? You said, do we just go to heaven and wait to come back? That is a certain point of view that's held by some Christians, for sure. But so many of the spiritual traditions describe and you've probably heard near-death experiences where people talk about going down a long, dark tunnel and there's light at the end of the tunnel and they come before whatever their understanding is of God. At which point, there's a life review. When our soul is faced with the light of infinite insight and understanding and knowledge, we're absolutely naked in the light. And so everything in our lives comes up and passes before our mind's eye in an instant. And the Christian, Orthodox Christian tradition agrees with that. It's what happens next. The Bible says we judge ourselves, which kind of makes more sense. It says that our mouths will come open and we will judge ourselves for whatever comes up in the light. And so you want to be gentle with yourself. You want to deal with your issues now. It's much easier to do it here, St. John of the Cross said, than waiting till after you die, when you stand before the light of God and go through this life review. Then it's sort of determined what's next. Okay, some traditions make that trip down the dark tunnel to the light very long. Some make it 10 days, some of our Hindu friends in India. Some make it 40 days, some of my Buddhist friends. Some of my Catholic friends have this notion of purgatory, that because we're working through so many hang-ups and unresolved issues, that journey down that dark tunnel to the light could last for a long, long time. And they pray for souls going through that transition. But however you understand it, there is a reckoning where we come before the light of truth and infinite consciousness and love and awareness. And so if you pass muster, then the Christian tradition holds you become part of this great cloud of witnesses that are joined together before God to make intercession, to pray for all of us who are still here going through our journeys and those who will. So in that viewpoint, all who have gone before us are bearing witness to what is happening on earth, and they're praying for us and interceding for us, which is the understanding of what Christ has been doing ever since he ascended, that he ever stands before God to pray and intercede for humanity. So there is definitely this idea about our loved ones watching over us. So there's that. And that would be what we celebrate on All Saints' Day. Those are the ones that made it. The ones that are still working through their stuff, the whole purgatory idea, they're the ones we celebrate on All Souls' Day. They're not quite saints yet, but God loves them, and so we're praying for them to make that full transition into the light. In the Buddhist and the Hindu tradition, it's determined whether you move on into the light or whether you might return to this place and reincarnate to have a chance to work through some of the things that we screwed up this time around, and the time before that, and the time before that, and the time before that. But essentially what happens when we die, Ekaterina, is that time stops. So when people say, you're going to be stuck in a bad place forever and ever and ever, it doesn't even say that in the Bible. It says, unto the eons of eons, which means in that place, it seems like, wherever your consciousness is, when time stops, there you are, and there's no time. You're just there. So that could seem like an eternity. But everything changes. So when we die, we leave our bodies, and we discover that we are spirit beings that are eternal. And the death of the body does not mean the death of our spiritual awareness and being, which in most cases is just delightful for people. I've known nurses that work, with the dying in clinical settings who told me that the joy that most people have, and even if they're brought back, they go, "Why'd you bring me back? That was so beautiful. It was just pure peace and acceptance and love. I was afraid I was really being screwed up, and it turns out we're totally embraced in pure love and acceptance. And why'd you bring me back here?" "Well, because your work wasn't done." But they did say there were a few souls that were afraid, so afraid, and so filled with fear and hatred and anger and all of that, that they were terrified. And it was like, don't let me go, keep me here, keep me alive. But sooner or later, all roads lead home. That is, in my opinion, some people may take a circuitous route. Some people may just move very slowly through that tunnel. But everyone is being drawn home by divine love, which is a gravitational pull that is drawing all of us back into oneness with itself. So that's what happens when we die. We lose an anchor that's holding us in the physical, material reality. And the soul can begin to ascend beyond the physical toward the light. So that's what happens. We leave our bodies, which haven't been such a great deal after all, really. I mean, we try to make the most of it. But when you experience being out of your body, and I mean, there are astral trips and all that in the astral body, but when you really experience the freedom of your spirit from this physical world and this physical body, it's just wonderful. It's so expansive and liberating and joyful. It's like, why was I ever worried about this? It's so amazing.
So why do you think it is that at this time of year, I've often heard that the veil between the worlds, the spirit world and our world, is thinner at this time of year? Do you know any reason why?
Well, there may be actually astrological reasons. That's not my area of specialty. But I do know that it's not just Halloween, which is the eve of All Saints' Day, but it's Samhain in some of the European pagan traditions. And there's a belief that the veil is thin and that souls are allowed to cross over into our world at this time. And I think that's mostly from the Western pagan traditions, and Christianity, just everywhere it went, picked up the local stuff. I mean, the Christmas tree was a pagan thing, but they went, "This is cool, let's make this part of our tradition." Easter eggs, that was a Roman pagan thing. Easter bunny, the hot cross buns with a cross in the top of them, strictly forbidden in the Hebrew scriptures. Don't do that. They were used to worship the goddess Ishtar. So the church would go, "Oh, that's cool. Let's incorporate decorated eggs and hot cross buns into the celebration of Easter." And Easter is actually one of the ways of pronouncing the name of the goddess Ashtoreth or Ishtar. Easter. It's actually the Passover, if you're coming from the Jewish tradition, but it's it's the resurrection, the crucifixion and the resurrection of Christ is the celebration. So it's really funny that we use all these pagan symbols and call it the celebration of the goddess that they were expressly forbidden to worship in the Hebrew Scriptures. But there is this long tradition. The Celts had an idea that if that these spirits wandered on October 31st, and they would try to like seize the children. So the children would dress up as, ghostly spirits from the other side to fool the dead into not coming and trying to like take them. And much such stuff. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah. And now it's just about the candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you could dress up as an angel. Not you. Anyone could.
I'm going to be a witch. Just because I found a costume in the closet today.
And Laura writes, vow for that. As a hospice nurse, myself, seen a lot, helped a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's quite a service, being a hospice nurse. That's a very intimate time of somebody's life, just like being there at a birth or being there at a marriage, these rites and passages that we go through. So I honor your service. That's a very beautiful gift.
In my training as a Christian minister, in studying so long ago for the priesthood, one of the things we learned was how to accompany the dying in very positive, loving ways. And I've had beautiful experiences invoking the angels and the presence of the divine to help the soul that's transitioning, or wherever they're coming from. We would flow with them in an interfaith way. But it's such a beautiful ministry. In fact, some people are called spiritual midwives these days, and that's their work, their ministry. Well, people used to be scared when I would walk into the hospital, the nurses, because to get into intensive care when somebody's like on the edge of death and they're not letting anybody in, I'd go in wearing a collar, a priest collar, and a black suit, and they go, "Oh no, you're not here to like give them last rites and send them off to death." And I go, come on. I'm here to anoint them and pray for their healing. But if I do happen to be here while they're making their transition, you'll never be worried about that again. It's one of the things we do well, dying. And then when we started going to India, part of the training that I went through as an awakened oneness teacher was from the perspective of the Oneness University and mostly the Hindu tradition, how to accompany people making their transition. And lo and behold, it was exactly what I had learned as a Christian priest, except we were inviting the devas, not Christian-esque angels. We were inviting whatever form of the divine that the person related to. But it was very similar. We helped them realize that it's okay, you can let go now, your work is finished, and there's something very beautiful. And we would help that. And I shared it with the monks in India, and they were like, wow, that's exactly what we teach. I mean, minus the priest collar and, the religious doctrines and all of that. Because truth is truth. So you can put it in a Buddhist robe or a Hindu robe or a Taoist robe or a Christian robe, but the soul is going through the same transition. And if we learn a little bit and we're sensitive, we can really help a lot. Yeah, Laura wrote, helped a lot to help relieve fear. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. I've been able on occasion to actually see with my eyes the spirit leave the body at the moment of death, and it's what I mean. You feel it, but to see it was just amazing. To watch this luminous light body just rise up out of the physical body and begin to ascend was just, it's deeply moving. Yeah. So, you don't need to be in a hurry to do that. But you don't need to be afraid either. Any other questions?
I think that's about it we have time for.
Yeah.
Good question.
Very timely.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about the goblins seizing your children or anything like that. And it can be really fun. You know, it doesn't have to be some like dark, sinister thing like Suzanne's going to be a witch. But it's okay.
I can be a good witch.
Some of my best friends are witches, but that's a sort of portrayal of a Wiccan that's dark and scary.
Yeah.
And really, I've known some very, very beautiful souls who are quite devoted to the Wiccan path. And you do no harm, you know? So, okay, enough of that. Well, maybe you can never get enough of that. But let's close our eyes and invoke the presence. You are immersed in an infinite ocean of the divine presence. This is an ocean of pure love. This presence loves you unconditionally exactly as you are. Oh, there's been so much religious teaching that's made people afraid and taught that there's a gulf of separation between us and God, and that's not true at all. Even the Christian New Testament says, in God's presence, we all live and move and have our being. You couldn't be separate from the divine. You just cease to exist. And fortunately, this presence that is our source is pure love. It is the most loving, the most powerful being in the universe. And it loves you personally, exactly as you are, and yearns to free you from fear, from suffering, from the illusion of judgment, distance from God, all of that religious stuff. The divine wants to just draw back the veil, wrap its loving arms around you, and draw you to its heart of pure love, and fill you with joy and peace. You can experience it so many ways. You're floating in it, it's pouring down on you from above. It's flooding out of your inmost being. Let it fill you from within. Let it fill your spirit with the awakening to truth and oneness with God. It shines out from there into the mental and emotional layers of your being to heal all of that, to dissolve wrong thinking, to release painful negative emotions and programming, and to replace all of that with divinely inspired ideas and feelings. It shines out from your heart through the layers of your soul into your physical body to bring healing. The divine yearns to heal you, spirit, soul, and body. Just drink it in. Receive and allow the divine to seek out wherever your consciousness, your energy is blocked, and to open it and to release it and to free you. It wants to shine out through your being into all of your relationships, to heal them, to make them right, and shine out through you into the world, rippling out to touch all of humanity and the universe. The divine knows exactly what you need. You don't need to tell God. You don't need to beg. All you need to do now is open yourself and receive and drink in the blessing of the Almighty. Imagine, visualize us sitting in a circle together with our eyes closed. Lift up your hands and open your palms facing forward, and let us invite the divine to pour the flowering heart blessing through all of us, to each other, to everyone in the circle, as it comes back to us through them. Let us hold in our consciousness all of those who are celebrating these festivals that focus on those who have passed on to the afterlife. Let us hold in our hearts the children who will be at Halloween parties and trick-or-treating. And let us take a strong intention that they be filled with the light and the knowledge of the divine, and protected from all harm. Perfect love dissolves and eradicates all fear. Let us ask the blessing to dissolve all fear surrounding Samhain, All Souls Day, All Saints Day, the Day of the Dead. And let us together ask the divine to help all the souls who are making their transition from this life, to help them let go without fear, in peace and in love, to be drawn to the light. And for all those who have already made their transition and are in intermediate places, let us ask the Divine to send the light beings, the angels, the devas, however you understand that, to lift them up to the light, to free them from any place they might be stuck, and draw them upward into the heart of God. If you have loved ones who have passed on before you, you might just send them a beam of love and gratitude and blessing. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now you can just relax your hands in your lap somewhere. When you're ready, open your eyes. Begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. As we dive into the light meditation, Suzanne and I are flooded with oceans of love and grace and light. It pours through every aspect of our being to you now, especially through our eyes, the windows of the soul. Just keep making direct eye contact with one of us, or both of us. And the light streams out of our eyes, in through your eyes, into your spiritual heart, causing the fires of divine love and the light of awakening to burn brighter and brighter and brighter within you. There's nothing for you to do but just receive. Close your eyes now. Meditate with us for a few more minutes as the grace settles within. Now keep meditating as long as you like, or find a place to lie down nearby in Shavasana. Shavasana is a yoga pose where you just lie comfortably on your back, with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides, with your hands open, turned upward, and just let yourself dissolve in the presence with gratitude.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we meet again, know that the divine in us beholds the divine within you, and we bow to you. Namaste.